Can you see?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So look, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in terms of fintech, but of course it's a buzzword and everybody talks about it. And I think it's multiplying at the rate of, 10 times today in terms of people who are interested in fintech. And at the moment, the biggest thing is obviously cryptocurrency. But for this particular session, I'm not going to get into cryptocurrency because cryptocurrency, blockchain, etc., is probably a topic by itself. And to be honest, I think you guys might know more than me. So I might get caught out if I say something. So let's go to something very basic, right? So how many of you all have actually heard of a bank? Because whenever you talk about finance, at least when I talk about finance, we think of banks. How many of you all?
You can raise your hands.
Raise your hands or type into this thing and say how many of you all have actually heard of a bank? Okay. Yeah. Secondly, has anybody actually, does any one of you know the name of a bank?
Yeah, go ahead, type in. Yeah, you do have a lot of them there, Marlon.
Okay, I'm just looking at the chat window. All right, okay. Nice, okay, some international name. My dad works there, that's right, Stan Charter, okay, HSBC, all right, I know, okay. Now, the next question is interesting and very important, so listen very carefully. How many of you all have actually been to a bank?
There you go.
You have? Okay, fantastic. Okay, that's right.
No, they went on Bring Your Kids to Work Day, maybe.
That's true. I think in the last 1 year, if you went to work, you're really dedicated, isn't it? And I think we've used all excuses to stay at home. So anyway, so let me show you something, right? The first bank, right, that was founded, at least which is still existing. The name I bet you all don't know was in Italian as part of an Italian principality, and it was founded in 1472. So we're talking about more than 6 centuries ago. The next thing that I want you to know is all of you all have probably heard of an ATM or at least have been to an ATM. So the ATM, the first ATM was, somebody said Barclays Bank, was installed by Barclays Bank in 1967. So it was 3 centuries to go from, what was considered as founded bank to what you think about today as, what you are more used to using in terms of an ATM. But in the last 10 years, the kind of changes that have happened are enormous. But let's take a step back before we go there. Do you all know what are the services that banks provide? Does anybody know what are the services that banks provide? So these are, you might, okay, hold on. So I've just put it up a bit in terms of this thing. So if you look at a bank, some of the things that the banks do is they provide you an account to keep your money. Most of you all might have started with a piggy bank, but nowadays maybe that is also obsolete and you guys might be laughing at me. Some of the banks help you in terms of managing your money. So you want to transfer money to your grandparents in another country, or you want to transfer money to your parents want to transfer some money to some other friends of theirs, etc. So they help you with money management. Then nowadays to buy houses or to buy cars, you have loans available. And then once they sell you a loan, they also then sell you insurance to make sure that if anything happens, they're there to help you, or at least that's what they say. And then you've got wealth management. So if you're interested in stocks, somebody said financial banker, financial investments, or if you're investing in gold or whatever it is, there's wealth management. And finally, you have business services. So these are some of the services that the banks have been providing for a number of years, okay? And these services have not changed. They've been in the same form. They've been just doing the work that they do, and they've been doing it. But what happened was, over time, people have kind of, like the way Abhinav said, things are getting faster, things are getting more connected. But what happened was, when you see the banks, they just didn't evolve fast enough. They were still really slow in the way they were managing things. There was a lot of paperwork involved. Every time you wanted something, You had to get 10 papers signed, you had to provide proof of who you were, and you had to do a lot of things that today you guys probably don't even think of. And that was the reason why you had to go to the bank. And because of all that, it made people really sad because they were like, oh my God, it's taking too long, it's taking too crazy. And that is where what happened was there were certain smart people, there were certain people who started to look at opportunities. They started to see that, hang on a minute, why should I take so long to get a loan? Or why should it take so long to get insurance? Or why do I need to fill all this paperwork to do all this work? And that is where, you've had all these sort of fintech services that have come in, right? So, but what the fintech companies have done is they have taken one aspect and done it really well. So, for example, if it was for lending, you had all these different companies who came up and said, hang on a minute, we'll do only lending. We don't want to do anything else, we'll do only lending. Okay. Similarly, if you wanted insurance, these are examples of what you can see in insurance. And then if you wanted payments, I bet most of you might have seen a lot of this in terms of payments. All these logos might be very popular to you. And then after that, if you look at savings account, or what people call as neobanks today, there are a number of neobanks that are coming up. And lastly, then you had even in wealth management, some of you talked about being investment bankers. Robinhood was a company that was or a name that was very much in news about 4 to 5 months ago. So what happened was, this is really where the people started to come up with ideas. And the idea was to do one thing, but do it really well. And the focus was to actually see how they could make it easier, how they could make it faster, and how could it be consumed very quickly in terms of a service, right? So that is where fintech comes in. But I would just want to show you something. This is the landscape of fintech in 2021. Now, I want you to take a guess and tell me, how many logos do you think you see here? Just take a guess. Type it in your charts. How many logos do you think you can see here? Okay, that's too many, but it's okay. I'll give you, okay, very close, very close.
350, you have 430.
350 is very close. So it is actually, I did a bit of a count, so I'm cheating. But yeah, it was about, that's very, so 356 is the logo, right? So what I'm saying, guys, is that if you think about it, right? If you think about, and these are just the top logos that you can see. This doesn't even show you the number of companies that have come up and are doing this. So what I'm saying is, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 services, and you've got one bank, and they are being, now there are over 350 companies who are trying to provide these services to you. So can you imagine, as you as a person who's trying to buy now, what is the kind of choice you have? You have amazing choice. So this is what I want to show you, that in the past you had one bank, but now for that one bank, there are at least 11 to approximately 25 fintechs that are operating and providing the different kind of services in a specialized manner. But what does that mean for you? What does that mean is that when you think about it, there is a high amount of specialization. So there is a significant amount of specialization. So no more are people saying, I want everything from one person. They're saying, I want choice. I will go and buy it from whoever is helping me get that best choice. Second is, there's a very high amount of competition. So you can go to 10 people for the same thing, get quotes, and they'll be ready to service you. And lastly, not everybody will be successful. So we need to be ready that when you have an idea and when you do something, it may not be that you may have the best idea, or you may be able to get successful in it, right? So that's the thing. So that brings me to, what is fintech all about? So you've seen these logos, you've seen how they have changed, what the banks do, etc. So what is fintech all about? Right? So fintech is three things, right? It is a product, it is a business model, and it is customer experience. So it could be a combination of two. It could be just one thing. It could be a combination of all three. You could be doing all three things. And these green boxes are where coding and what coding does in fintech, right? So when you talk about a product, you could be bringing in a new feature. You could be bringing a new offering, but or even a small part of a feature you could have changed. And I'll take some examples when we go ahead. Similarly, the business model. It's all about making it simple. It's all about making it easier for people and focusing on solving a problem, right? So that is really what fintech tries to do for people. The third thing is we're talking about customer experience. So all of you all want great customer experience. You all want to be able to consume it quickly on your mobile phones, etc. So that is what customer, easy of access, use, and quick and well done. So when you talk about coding, if you want to think about what is driving all this stuff, it is AI ML, it is data analytic, mobile apps, the user experience, and the integration. So if any of you all are looking at coding, any of you all, it need not be everything. You can take one thing, but all the stuff is really of interest to the fintech industry. All the stuff is really interesting, and that is what they are looking for. So you could look at anything, and any of these activities, if you are good at, you're in the you can be part of the fintech industry. But then again, what fintech is not just about coding, right? Fintech, what they're doing is they're solving problems. So where do you get your ideas from? And I just want to tell you that you have to listen to your parents. And you know why you have to listen to your parents? Because they complain. And if they complain, it means they've got a problem. And if they've got a problem, you can solve that problem. So important aspect is I'm just kidding, guys. Don't be too serious. It's just me kidding around. But every time you are listening to people and they're saying, it's just taking too long, yeah, I don't like it, that is where you need to look at for at least, hang on a minute, can I do something? And the point is you can start from here, you can figure out what you want to do, and this is how you will be able to solve it, right? So that's what you need to look at. So this is really what fintech is all about. Now I'm going to take some examples, right? So let's take payments. Payments is the most popular stuff, right? So you guys have all of you all have seen these logos. All of you all know these logos. So you guys have seen PayPal, you guys have seen, Apple Pay, you guys have seen Alipay, right? So the main difference between these three are you've got different types of payment. These are three major types of payments that are doing. Previously, when you had to pay, you needed cash, or you needed credit card, or you needed to go to your bank and pay. Now you've got online wallets. So the main difference with online wallets and offline wallets is what you set up in your phone. So basically you're in charge, you control what you want to do, you set up your profile, and then you pay. Online wallets is something like PayPal. So PayPal basically says, okay, you create an account with me, and then I will protect your identity, I will keep you safe, I will make sure your credit card details don't go to anybody else. And finally, the latest one, or the one that has been most popular, is QR code based payments. And if you've heard of Alipay or Paytm or all these companies, these are just fantastic innovation because they've made it so easy. I mean, you know the example. I think nowadays you buy your moms probably buy stuff based on QR codes every day by just scanning it on the phone. But inherently, all these things in the background, if you see, right, it is still coming down to two things. Either you've linked it to a bank account, or you've linked it to a credit card. So in a sense, what all these ideas have done is, it is no different from what you were doing previously, but it's just that they've made it easier, they've made it more accessible, and they've made it quicker for people to get involved and get this payments done, right? So the biggest driver that we can see when it comes to accessing and is the way you've been able to access the service. So why this has become so popular is the way you've been able to access. And that is because of one thing and one thing alone, which is your mobile phone. And that is where what Abhinav said, because when it comes to 5G, when it comes to IoT, when it comes to connected, the device that is changing us, the device that is connecting us is your mobile phone or your iPad, all your handheld devices. And this is fundamentally what has changed, or what has enabled all what you're seeing today in terms of the new innovations, in terms of the new services, and how those services, the business models in which they are being offered to people, right? So, and you guys are actually at the perfect place to figure out what you'll want to do, because when it comes to coding as well, it is becoming so easy. The next thing that example that I will talk about is lending, right? So, you know, Abhinav drew a time chart. So at one point in time, if you wanted money, you could only get a personal loan or you went to a money lender, right? And if you talk to your parents or your grandparents sometimes, especially if you come from an Eastern culture, they will tell you that money lenders were considered like thieves. You know, they were the most hated people, and they always wanted your money. But then over time, they came in the concept of credit cards, and everybody got used to credit cards, and today we all use credit cards. Then we also came into a concept of microloans, right? All of them were doing the same thing, that is trying to give you money to actually, help you buy things, right, in advance. But the Afterpay and Zip Money, I don't know how many of you all know, have heard of Afterpay or Zip Money. Uh, these are the two companies are doing exactly the same, but all they did was they said, okay, I'm going to provide this service on your phone. I'm going to provide this service at the time you need it. I don't need any pre-approval, and I'm not going to charge you anything. And today, Afterpay, just for your information, got sold to a company called Square for 39 billion after being in existence only for 7 years. So you can see that everyone has been doing exactly the same thing, but it's just that by the way they've done it, they've just been able to become great. They've been able to sort of crack the code, right? But let me tell you one thing. Microloans was actually not started by Afterpay or any. It was actually made popular by a gentleman called Professor Muhammad Yunus. I don't know how many of you all know him, but he's from Bangladesh, and he's actually now a humanitarian as part of the International Olympic Committee. So if you look at the Olympic opening ceremony that was held in Japan, he actually gave a small speech about doing social good for the poorer of society. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys is that you guys are at the right place at the right time. All you need to figure out is how you're going to use your phone and what is it that you're going to do based on understanding a bit of coding. Right? So that is, you guys are in. This is exactly the kind of conversation that you guys need to have. Coming on, the next thing is with respect to trends, if you are really interested. So digital onboarding is going to be really important. So no more paperwork. How can we actually get customers directly through phones? So again, with respect to, scanning either voice recognition or facial recognition, biometrics, all that stuff is going to be big. Social commerce and e-commerce and new modes of payment are going to come in, and that is going to be big. So again, you would have seen Facebook is now selling stuff. You've got stuff on Amazon and eBay and all that is anyway there. But LinkedIn and all that are also coming up with various kinds of ways to actually engage businesses and all that. So this is going to be a big thing. The third thing is open banking. So again, I guess maybe, I don't know, some of you all already have a bank balance and you guys already are, big in banking. But if you're not, today it is very hard for you to get records from your bank, especially if you want to share it with other banks. So there is a move that is coming up, which is saying that if it is my data, it is my money, and you're storing it, then how is it that you have, how is it that you own my data? So I should be able to own it. And that is where open banking is something that is coming up, is going to become big. Coupled with the digital onboarding, it is really something that can set on a very massive thing. It'll fundamentally mean that you don't really need a bank. There are multiple organizations that can get into banking, and the most touted example is the telco industry. So the telcos of the world, so Singtel or M1 that are there that you all are aware of, they could start to become banks. And finally, fraud prevention. So obviously, as you go into more transactions, you do more things online, there is more fraud. So all of you guys who are anti-hackers or who can prevent hacking, this is something that is going to be of interest to you all, because fraud prevention is a big place. Lastly, guys, I want to leave you all with another example. I bet you all have never heard of this example. So this is an app called M-Pesa. Okay, it is actually been popular in the Middle African countries, and the reason why I use this example is because the amazing part about it is that it was started in 2007. right? Before fintech was popular or before anybody called anybody fintech. But these people were actually transferring money through their phones using text messages. So they actually already had the idea, they actually did it. And then as mobile phones came in, screens came in, they have actually brought so many different functionalities to just their handset, right? Today, 96% of Kenyans use M-Pesa to actually transact on a day-to-day basis. Talk about, making a difference, talk about making working for good, talk about actually, user adoption, right? That it's an amazing story. And this is the opportunity. If you think about fintech, 2 billion people over the world, that is 1/3 of the population, doesn't have access to banking or financial services. So when you talk about fintech, this is the real opportunity. This is the real play. This is the really where you can make a difference to people, not just by simply technology, but actually providing a service that can make a difference to them. So with that, I'll kind of end, and thank you guys. I think you guys have been a wonderful, I really appreciate some of the things that I've heard on this call, but feel free if you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Thank you so much, Marlon. And I'm sure, who were the two guys who told me they would like to become investment bankers and don't know how and where coding fits in? Anant and Rishan. So do you guys want to unmute yourself, and how was this session? So do you know where your coding fits into banking?
Sort of.
Sort of?
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Look, unless you're like I think Abhinav said, right? I mean, everything is going to get into robotics, into AI-based algorithms. So the idea is the traditional investment banker who was running a portfolio or had a portfolio and was involved in 3 screens in front of them looking at stocks going up and down is probably going to be obsolete. You probably will be able to do everything from your phone because a robot will be sitting somewhere and telling you what to do. So your life is going to be easier. Don't worry.
Yeah. I think that was a brilliant session by both our experts. And yes, we do have a round of applause for Marlon. So can we unmute ourselves, kids? Thank you. And that M-Pesa was a revelation for me as well. I really didn't know about that one, Marlon. That was news for me.
True. It is fantastic. I mean, started from
yeah, that's what I don't know. One of the kids wrote, so did they steal it? So I don't know whether it's going to be another Google Earth story.
Oh, look, I think it's social good. The important aspect.
Yeah, and that was one very important thing which I keep emphasizing with these kids is, even if you become coders in the future or whatever, always keep your ethics in place. Never do something or never code something that does not lead to good for the society. Right, kids?
Absolutely. I just to add to this, I think what we were showing, these innovations, taking the innovations on the ground, doing good for the society, and I'll also link it to Internet of Things. I think these are humankind's answers to the climate challenges and everything we face. Because at this point, we don't see how we will get there, right? You have heard the climate talks that happened recently. We don't know how we will get to that 1.5-degree reduction. But I think we are just limited by our imagination right now. The leaps that we are going to see will increase productivity, efficiency so much that suddenly the emissions may reduce. I'm very hopeful, right? And you guys will do it for us.
I'm sure that, they will make it a better place, definitely. We've tried our best to kind of automate things for this generation, and hopefully this generation takes it a step further.
Exactly. And one last thing, M-Pesa, by the way, Marlon, was the first example of the, merging of telecom and banking. Yeah, this has been, exactly. It's one of the big examples even in our industry. M-Pesa is setting the foundation for this convergence. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much, Abhinav and Marlon. This has been so wonderful for me. I mean, I'm sure you can see all the kids are glued onto. There were some kids who wanted to leave, but they are here. They are all here.
No worries.
This has been
right.
really interesting and really appreciate this.
No problem. All right, guys. Have a good week. Have a lovely evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Happy
Bye-bye.
year in. Bye-bye.
Shall I leave?
Yes. Do you have any
All right, bye.
questions? Y'all can message me.
No. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.